Hi, everybody. Hi, everybody. Can you hear me? Amazing. It is wonderful to be here with all of you. I am Zaida Mohammed. I am the state senator of this district. So welcome to the best district in the state. You know, this district has been through many things over the last few years, and we can't start a program without naming that, right? But it is so good to just be here in community to celebrate with all of you on the work that we have done. I know many of you have been a part of this work, and I want to appreciate you for making sure that your work is coming to true and into fruition, and really proud to have worked alongside you and we'll continue to do that work. We'll have a great program, and I'll bring up Sarah to start us off, who is a part of this program. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Zainab Mohammed. Such a privilege to have you come to this event, this important place in your district. I'm Sarah Wolf. I have the great honor of working with Minnesota Interfaith Power and Light and with CURE, two of the many organizations that worked on the Green Bank, Minnesota Climate Innovation Finance Authority. Yeah, now. And we're going to say some things about that because you may know a lot about it already, or you might not know a lot about it already. But before we do that, I would like to bring up one of my colleagues, Jessica Intermal. She is with Intermal Land History Consulting. And she's just going to center us in the place and space and time that we are. And then we have an amazing program, and it's going to go quickly, so we hope you'll be able to be here for that and for what follows. Thank you, Jessica.
Really loud. Really loud, Sarah says. Can you all hear me? Yeah, all right, really loud. Thank you all so much for being with us here today. Before we get this party really rocking and rolling, we want to thank some extra special guests. Congresswoman Ilhan Omar is here with us. We appreciate Senator Mohammed kicking us off. We also have Representative Censor Murrah. Censor Murrah, I'm so sorry. We're here in her district as well. We have bill author Emma Greenman. We are so excited to talk to you. Representative Hornstein, Representative Kraft. We have and we also have some folks from the Department of Commerce, and that's important because that's who's going to help us get this off the ground. So say hello to Pete Whitehouse and to Lissa College, please. All right, how am I doing with the mic, y'all? It feels a little weird. All right. You're doing great. Cool. So I appreciate your taking a little bit of time with us to ground ourselves in the past and the present of this moment and this place. First and foremost, we are on Dakota land. What we call Minneapolis was and is the spiritual heart of Minnesota Makoche. We are steps away from Hahawakpa, the river that connects all water and all life in Minnesota Makoche. We stand in the home of hundreds of generations of Dakota who stewarded this place for thousands of years and who continue to steward this place today. And today we stand on land that was stolen by Pike's Treaty of 1805 and the 1851 Treaty of Mendota. But it's not enough to momentarily acknowledge that truth. If you are here and you are not Native, we invite you to take one of the Minnesota Makoche honor tax cards that are on our tables back here. If we run out, find me, I have more. We invite you to make a voluntary real rent contribution, an amount that's meaningful to you, and your contribution will go directly to the Lower Sioux Indian community, which is a Dakota tribe. It's a concrete way to move beyond land acknowledgement to actively recognize your life and your work on Dakota land. Our country broke its promises, but you can make your own. We also recognize that white settler colonizers did not treat all of the land within Minnesota-Makoche the same. Take Minneapolis. Our founding fathers treated Hahawakpa, the Mississippi River, as a resource, not a relative. They located extractive industry on her banks and in her current. But they placed their own homes farther away on the shores of surrounding lakes, and they purposely and sometimes violently pushed Black, brown, and indigenous people away from their own desirable neighborhoods towards the pollution that they created. If you haven't yet, we encourage you to take a look at these maps, see how the public racism of yesterday's redlining persists in the progressive, not racist Minneapolis of today, and see that these maps are not just maps. Today's disproportionate reality for our city's Black, brown, and indigenous residents is life near point source pollution, higher rates of asthma because of more dangerous air quality, and it's temperature spikes during extreme heat events that are even hotter than the rest of the city. For so long, so many of you have worked so hard to interrupt and begin to repair that harm. And y'all, it's working. Today, we celebrate the audacity of everyone who dared to imagine a more just future. Today, we recognize all of your hard work to get to this moment. And today is when we step into tomorrow together, all of us. We're standing at the Coliseum, a structure built in 1917. Back then, the building was a department store. It was sandwiched between a tractor factory and the Milwaukee Road rail yards. As the rail scene declined, so did the property. For a while, it was a furniture warehouse. In the 1990s, it was redeveloped into a Latina health clinic with a Denny's. And in 2020, in the uprising, this building burned. Fires scorched the interior. Work to fight the blaze caused extensive water damage. After that, it sat vacant. It seemed almost certain that the end of the story would be a wrecking ball. But instead, it's a new chapter. It will become a BIPOC small business incubator with office space and an event center. It will continue its history as an important part of this community. And it's exactly the sort of project that MNCIFA can help make happen. With that, I'd love to introduce Liz Loeb. Liz is MNIPL's acting director, while our executive director, Julia Nurbon, is enjoying the final weeks of a well-earned sabbatical. Liz.
Oh, thank you so much, Jessica. I am so lucky to live a life where I get to work with people like Jessica Interville. It is humbling to be here in front of all of you. Look at this amazing and beautiful group of people gathered together. Thank you so much for being here. My name is Liz Loeb. I use she and her pronouns. I'm the Associate Director of Minnesota Interfaith Power and Light, and I want to tell you a little bit about MNIPL and why the fight to win MNCIFA was core to our organization and what we do. MNIPL organizes with communities of faith, conscience, and spiritual practice at the intersection of racial justice and climate justice. We are multi-faith and multiracial, and we work to change and transform the systems and structures around us towards justice. We work towards practical wins that impact people's lives towards climate justice. And we work understanding that our spiritual grounding, or however we name and call what ties us to relationship and to one another, is necessary in the fight towards climate justice. Thank you. I think there are two things that distinguish MNCIFA's role in our shared movement. We take seriously that climate justice is spiritual work. We know we come from different beliefs, different traditions, different identities, and different experiences, and we know that those differences make us who we are, and our ability to do the work of grounding ourselves into relationship with each other and with the planet makes us stronger and gives us the heart and muscle and belief we need for the long term. We also know that there is no climate justice without racial justice. They're inseparable. They're intertwined. And what that means for MNCIFA is sometimes we push. Sometimes we take on fights that are necessary even when they're not expedient. And it means that we show up in solidarity, work in relationship, and remember that our interdependence is our greatest gift. So here's the thing about MNCIFA. It was a monumental achievement to pass the 100% clean energy bill. And I want to acknowledge and celebrate every single person here and everywhere who worked so hard to make that possible. We are a leader in what our future can be together. And each of you had a part in making that happen. So much hard work, so much commitment. I also know that if we usher in a green energy future, relying on the monopoly utilities that have benefited from the extraction of fossil fuels to lead and manage the finances of projects that are tied to our green energy future, it won't be a future that works for all of us. The folks who got rich off of fossil fuels are not the folks who are going to care about our communities for the long term. Thank you. And so what MNCIFA makes possible is a green energy future where the wealth and prosperity of the scale of investment we've created can live in community, can be owned and shared by community, where small-scale, small business, cooperative projects can truly thrive. I'm glad the wind agrees with me. We also set a best in the country standard for what it means to invest in environmental justice communities as part of the wealth creation that follows a green energy future. Thank you. And that specifically means putting money, resources, real and accountable commitment into Black, Native, Brown, POC, and Indigenous-led projects, businesses, communities, neighborhoods, people. So, it is so helpful when applause gives me a moment to gather my thoughts. I really appreciate it. So I want to give you 3 reasons why MNCIFA was inextricable from what we are here to do as people who believe not only in our planet but in one another. First, it's a moral issue. It's more than an issue. It is a moral necessity. As Jessica outlined, as Jessica helped us to ground ourselves into, if you are not Native, you are living on stolen land. If you are not Black, you are benefiting from stolen labor that was taken from enslaved people in the founding of this country. We cannot repair our relationship to the land and one another if we do not address those fundamental wounds. We, all of us, but especially those of us who have benefited from that theft, have to make it right. We cannot do climate justice without repair. We cannot do climate justice without reparations. MNCIFA is not all of that, but it is a start. So it's a defining moral issue. The second reason is something we put in the title, and that is innovation. It's right there, it's in the title. When we take investment and we diversify and disperse it to community ownership rather than concentrating it in the hands of a very few who seek to profit from the extraction and violence levered on our communities, we give people the chance to create the solutions we most need. The brilliance, the possibility, the fantasticalness, the fabulousness that lives in our communities is infinite, and it has been systemically and purposely under-resourced because of racism. So MNCIFA won't magically fix that, but it provides a pathway for real financial investment that is owned and determined and sovereign within community, and that's where innovation can thrive, and that means all of us can thrive. Thanks. Thanks, Dave. Thank you. So here's the third reason, and I'll be done, and I will hand off the microphone. There is no green energy future unless there is a green energy future for all of us. MNCIFA makes a renewable energy transition not only more just, not as just as it could be, there's always work to do, but not only more just, it makes it relevant. It brings it into people's lives, it brings it into the stuff that organizations are planning, it brings it into schools, it brings it into the businesses we go to every day. It makes it part of people's actual lives. And that means instead of just an idea out there that like maybe would be nice but doesn't feel real for most of us who are just trying to get through the day, climate justice, renewable energy, a green future becomes a practical, visceral, tangible thing that is creating community-owned wealth and that is responsible and accountable to community. And what that means is not only is it right and moral, not only does it invest in innovation, but the next time we need to win something big together because the planet might depend on it just a little. Folks actually have an experience of why it matters in their daily life. And that is, I've been doing justice work for a long time. I've been doing climate justice work for a long time. It is not, you all know this because you are here, it is not a set of ideas. It is something that lives in us and that gives us the possibility of figuring out who we are to one another. And to me, in the tradition I carry, which is specifically a Jewish tradition, that is sacred, and that is Tikkun Olam. What I will leave you with, before I hand over the microphone to so many people who I cannot wait to hear speak, is incredible gratitude. The partners, the coalitions, the organizations, the people who worked night and day to bring this into reality, who took it from a fight we couldn't win to a fight we had to win, to a fight we won, have changed the future of Minnesota, have changed what it means for wealth and justice to exist within communities, and have changed what is possible. I am so grateful. Thank you, everyone.
And I will hand the microphone to Sarah. So now let's get to who really made this possible for us. Please give your best round of applause to Representative Emma Greenman from the great city of Minneapolis.
Thank you. And I am gonna, my partner in this work, Senator Xiong, was not able to be here because of his other job. So I'm going to start with my personal experience, but he and I really partnered in this work. So he was really disappointed he couldn't be here, but so grateful for all of your work. And for folks who don't know me, I represent the other half of the greater 63, which you sit in, South Minneapolis. And I don't come to this work as an expert. I'm a voting rights lawyer. I got to the legislature to do that work. And I, though, hold the seat of former Representative Jean McGuinness, who really led the way in thinking about how we take urgent action on climate change and center clean energy work and do it with an equity lens. And then I ended up sitting on what we call Climate Row in the House, sandwiched in between Chair Patty Acom, Representative Larry Kraft, and the great Frank Hornstein on the end. And so I knew I had to do something on climate this year. And I told Patty, like, this is the year, I gotta make Jean McGuinness proud, I gotta make this row proud. I'm just gonna do a little thing on climate change. And that was MNCIFA. And to me, it is really rooted in, and as everyone has said, and really grounding us in this work of, as we take on the climate crisis, as we build towards a clean energy future, we need to do it in a way that it strengthens communities, it strengthens communities' participation in community solutions, and at the end of the day, that's, to me, what democracy looks like. And so to me, this is a democracy issue. we know as the economic, the community, the financial impacts of climate change grow, that we need lots of interventions. This is not a silver bullet, and actually this year I think our legislator sent Commerce about $500 million to get going on really this rapid transition. This is just a piece of it. But we know, and what MNCIFA is about, what this Green Bank is about, is that we need to have financing that can both increase the size and the scale of the investment and also target it to the communities and the markets that are not being served. The communities that we talked about, the environmental justice communities, with a very specific lens that we're gonna do this project with. And as we transition to that clean energy economy, we need to root that in equity, in the racial equity and the repair work. We need to root that in an economy and a labor market that works for workers and works for family-sustaining jobs that we should be building as we transition, and do it in a way that ensures that we're protecting the consumers on the other side of that. And what I'm really, really proud of is I think this bill, this MNCIFA, which in October will have its first board. I'm looking at you, Department of Commerce. But it is built to ensure that as we're making this transition, we're doing it in a way that centers those equities, the equity provisions and workers. And let me talk a little bit about that, because to me, it's not just the what, it's the how. And the how that matters is not just delineating the projects and how they're chosen, which is very important, both that we're investing in projects that are reducing greenhouse gas emissions, that we're investing in projects in the communities and the markets that are not being served, but that we do it really with a focus on the communities, and we built in, if you read the bill, very specific requirements about how we're choosing projects. And not just that, but who is involved in choosing those projects and what kind of public input. So when I think about the work that I have done as a voting rights lawyer and democracy lawyer, a big piece of that is ensuring that our government is people-powered and people-driven. And so when we started talking about what this quasi-governmental agency was, it was important to me that it was publicly accountable, that it was something that the public had accountability mechanisms in, both by who ended up on the board, but also the process mechanisms we built in so that community stakeholders are consulted. Organizations like Interfaith Power and Light, organizations like CURE and many others that were consulting worker justice and worker and labor organizations, that were working with clean energy organizations, environmental organizations, and others. And all of that is built into the structure of the entity. The other thing I'm really, really proud of is, one of the things as we transition is, as we think about the jobs that we're transitioning, we cannot create a clean energy economy that is replacing dirty but good union jobs with clean but less paid poverty wages. That is an issue of equity, and it's an issue of families and workers' rights. And that is something we've got to keep an eye on. So as all of these pieces that we're doing, as we're thinking about this transition, as we're thinking about building and really expanding the scope of this new economy, we have to ensure that we're thinking about the tools we have to protect workers, whether it's ensuring that big projects have prevailing wage, pay a prevailing wage, whether it's ensuring that we are promoting organizing and labor rights. All of that is in this bill, because we know that as we transition, in every state dollar we invest or invest for financing, we should be using to promote worker power and worker justice. And the last thing I will say is on this, because lots of people, I've spent a lot of time explaining how this works, and there's people who are better than me. This is my first lesson in clean energy finance. But one of the real important critical things as we get going is how this gets set up, and how we are engaging and supporting and taking advantage of all those opportunities there will be to participate. I am very excited. The Department of Commerce and Commissioner Arnold and a whole slew of people who I don't remember their titles, but Michelle Grancy, John Kelly, and especially Pete Wyckoff, who helped get this passed get the funding that we're hoping to get at the federal level passed here, but are going to be responsible for setting up this new agency. And there's lots of opportunities to apply for these positions, the public positions, to have stakeholder input. And so I'm inviting you, I'm welcoming you, and I'm urging you to take advantage of that, because that input, that community-based knowledge that we should be using here is only as good as the organizing that go into it. And the last thing I will say, because there are, and I already mentioned many of them, and I think they've been called out, but this legislature and really the leadership of Chair Acom and many others really did, and when I think about transportation and all the other places, we really did say that this state needs to be a leader on climate, and not just climate, but climate justice. And if you look through our bills, there's lots of different opportunities to look at that. And we had a partner in the administration, we had a partner in the Senate. And so I would just thank all of you who got a pro-environmental justice, pro-climate equity trifecta elected, because elections have consequences. And for all of you who've been working on this for years, I see Jeremy Kalin, and I know a lot of others have been working on this idea for years and years and years. What we know about all the good policy we got passed is it stands on decades of work, and we just get to be the ones who launch it into the world and to celebrate. But thank you all. Thank you for Interfaith Power and Light, and for all. If I started naming the people who testified, the people who lobbied, the people who did organizing, I'd probably name all of you. So I just want to say thank you for the work. This is what democracy looks like, and let's go make something great.
Next, I'd like to introduce you to Sarah Moradian. She is the Policy and Government Affairs Director with CURE. CURE is an organization in Montevideo that is really focused on the other pockets of the state. And so bringing us perspective about how this isn't just about the heart of Minneapolis and these urban communities in our urban core. Thank you, Sarah. All right, good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. As Sarah said, my name is Sarah Moradian with CURE, and I think a really important part of MNCIFA is that it's meant to benefit all Minnesota communities, whether that's here in Minneapolis or an hour and a half, 2 hours west in Montevideo, where, as Sarah said, CURE's office is located. The fact is that the transition to the just, clean economy that we envision is going to require capital to get there. MNCIFA will ensure that such projects are not sacrificed for a lack of funding. So I'm here today to share with you just a few examples of how MNCIFA could improve the lives of rural people in our state. First, in Mankato, the city, the Blue Earth County Human Services Commission, and several community service groups are looking to create a new shelter and supportive housing facility for people experiencing homelessness. Now, while the project itself will likely be eligible for several funding sources, MNCIFA itself could help finance green elements, so things like rooftop solar or energy efficiency systems, which would help reduce the cost of energy servicing that building. For beginning farmers across the state struggling to access capital, again, specifically for projects that deliver climate benefits, MNCIFA would help provide a source of capital that helps both individual farmers and our agricultural sector as a whole become a leader on climate solutions. Finally, something I'm especially excited by is the prospect of creating community resiliency hubs. So things like renewables and battery storage could be located at community centers, libraries, and the like to create a place that people can go in the event of extreme weather or emergencies for things like shelter, air conditioning, heat, food, or even batteries, portable batteries for medical equipment. Point is that there's a sea of possibilities here in terms of how MNCIFA can help communities from Little Falls to Little Canada, from Mankato to Minneapolis. And that's where I'll bring us back to, right here in this spot on Lake Street. With that, I'd like to introduce Umber Nakvi with Lake Street Solar and Joaquin Thomas, or JT, with Go Solar Installations to tell you about their work and what is going on in this community. Thank you, guys.
Like that. So, a Muslim software guy, a Jewish lawyer, and church leadership got together and put together a program that MNCIFA hopes to do.
Right.
So I'm Umber Nakvi, I'm with Lake Street Solar. In the wake of George Floyd's murder, when we were here with our children, buckets and mops, doing some cleanup work, we decided we wanted to be part of this rebuild effort. So in 2020, we launched Lake Street Solar for the sole purpose of bringing solar to BIPOC businesses along the Lake Street corridor, and bringing solar to community that didn't have the initial investment. So we put together some of our own resources and collective resources. With MNIPL's help, we were able to recruit, get some projects that we delivered. So we've done 7 projects along the Lake Street corridor, all of them bringing solar to community hubs, churches, businesses to lower their electricity bills so they can stay in business. Thank you. In order to do the actual work, we partnered with Go Solar, the only black-owned solar business or solar construction business in town. And I'll let JT tell the story, but you know we've been here. So started this work in 2020. I see Jeremy Kalin, my other partner, the Jewish lawyer that I talked about. But we started this work in 2020, and 7 projects later, we have 17 more to do. In the building that you're in is another one of our projects that we're going to talk to Pete about later. Yep. But I'll let JT talk about how we recruit from here, we construct here, and it's been amazing to see rooftops with people from the community doing this important work.
Thank you. Thank you. So yeah, you know, Amber reached out to us a couple years ago to really have a dream to bring, you know, black and brown faces on the roof. You know, we've been in it doing solar since 2019, and it hasn't been like the easiest, right? You know, but I tell you this, it's extremely, extremely rewarding to be able to get people from the community to get on the roof and do this work and really have an actual career, you know. So people like Umber make that true. And more importantly, I look at you guys as the trailblazers who do the policy and all the legislation sessions that you guys have been sweating over. And I am a recipient of that, right? So being a BIPOC company in this area, I've lived in this area. It's like Umber said, I was here in the wake of the George Floyd riots, and we were cleaning up that Cubs there during that. So, you know, it's personal to me to be able to be on this street and do my part to make it what it is and what you guys work so hard about, making it more greener. So I look at things more in the green economy, you know, and I love that the green economy is being a platform for equity. It's huge to me. And I just want to say thank you. I don't have much to say. I don't have like any canned response, but it just all comes from the heart. So again, thank you. Thank you for being a recipient of your hard work, and hopefully there's more to come. So thank you.
So this is so great, and this is really just me putting someone on the spot. But as Representative Greenman said, if we were going to go through this room and thank the people who made this happen, we would be naming every single one of you, and this is absolutely incredible. Because we have an amazing resource here from the Governor's Office, from the Department of Commerce, and Pete Wyckoff and Lissa Polish, I would just like to say, Pete, would you just be willing to join us here?
Thanks. I know some of you, but not a lot of you. I'm Pete Wyckoff. Until 3 months ago, I was Senator Tina Smith's lead on energy and climate. So I was there when we went to try to negotiate Build Back Better and salvage the pieces, and a lot of the pieces on the climate side, to get the Inflation Reduction Act. So not to get political, but we had a trifecta for 2 years in Washington, and elections have consequences. Was lured back by the promise of a new trifecta here, and I do not want to take. I gave some advice on the law that passed, but I do not want to take any more credit for CIFA than that. It was done by the people gathered here, not by Alyssa and I and the people at Commerce. So thank you. At least until a few seconds ago, there were 2 representatives, one of whom you very much know from the DOE Loan Program Office. We have been working the new IRA funding sources to try to make sure we can take what the legislature gave to CIFA and multiply that by bringing some of that federal money to help CIFA get off the ground. Commerce. Grace is sorry she can't be here, Commissioner Arnold, but Commerce is not going to run CIFA. It is your baby. We are, Lisa and I guess, and others are, I don't know what the analogy is, surrogate parenting or something right now. But it will fledge, and it will be its own beautiful thing. And we look forward to working with you to get it off the ground.
I hope you'll stick around, but I just really have to say thank you, Jeremy Kalin, Juventino, Patricia Torres-Ray, Ariana Jenis, Jordan Hedler, Gabe Chan, Matthew Grimley at the University of Minnesota. Thank you, MCEA. Thank you, Fresh Energy, Institute for Local Self-Reliance, Solar United Neighbors, 100% Campaign. Thank you, Jewish Community Action and David Snyder. Thank you to Sherry Knuth and the congregations she worked with. Thank you to the CURE team and the MNCIFA team. And I've missed so many of you, and please forgive me for that, Jenna and all of you. But this is an uninspiring close, except to say that you are the most inspiring people there could be to work with and engage in this with. So thank you. Give this group a beautiful round of applause to welcome back the Blue Watts Jazz Ensemble.